Today we're going to show you how to change a drain pump on your washer. It's a really easy job. All we're going to need is a Phillips screwdriver and a 5/16 nut driver. Let me show you how we do it. Now before we begin this repair, the first thing we should do is disconnect the power to the washer. Simply pull the plug from the receptacle. Now the first step in this repair will be to remove the front panel. There are two Phillips screws about 1 inch in from either side, just under that lip. So either with a stubby Phillips screwdriver or pull the machine forward enough so that you can tilt it back and remove those two screws. Once we've removed the two screws, we'll pull the front panel out at the bottom and tilt it down to disconnect the two spring clips at the top. Now we can set that aside. Now that we have the front panel removed, we see that the pump is located in the right front corner. So we'll remove the two clamps for the inlet hose and the outlet hose. Now, these style of clamps require loosening the screw first and then giving them a sharp bump to loosen them, and then just pull the clamp out of the way. Now there will be water in both of these hoses, so either have a towel handy or a bucket to catch the excess water in. Now with the hoses removed, our next step will be to pull the washer far enough forward that we can tilt it back and lean it up against the wall, or have somebody support it while you remove the screws that hold the pump to the base. Next we'll roll the pump belt off. Set that aside, and then we'll remove 3 5/16 screws. And simply lift the old pump up through the hole. You need to twist it a bit to get the pulley to come out through, and discard the old pump. To install our new one, we'll do the reverse to that. Tuck the pulley down in first, make sure that we have the pump orientated in the right direction so that the outlet is facing the back of the cabinet, and then install the 3 screws. We won't tighten these screws tight until we've made an adjustment on the pump belt. Just leave enough slack that the pump will slide side to side relatively easily. Now before we put the belt back on, we'll inspect it to make sure it's not glazed or burnt in any spot. If it is, it'll need to be replaced, and you need to replace it with the original manufacturer's equipment. Slide the belt onto the motor pulley, roll it onto the pump pulley, and our adjustment will be the distance between the two sides of the belt as we squeeze it together. Then pull the belt in to about 1/4 inch gap between it at the center, and that's where we'll tighten the pump up. The pump belt is meant to be fairly loose. It doesn't require a lot of power to drive that pump. And if you over tighten it, it will cause the drive belt to be loose and it won't spin properly. So just snug those up. Recheck our adjustment, and at about 1/4 inch space there we should see the motor start to move. Tighten all 3 screws securely. And now we can stand the washer back up straight. We'll reinstall the inlet and outlet hoses. If either of the clamps are rusted, they should be replaced at that point. And make sure you have them pointed in a direction where you can loosen them or tighten them. Now, once the clamps are tightened, we're ready to put the front panel back on. Now, to install the front panel, we'll hook these two spring clips up under the top with the panel tilted forward, and then just hinge it back into place, keeping an upward pressure on the panel. Then we can install the two screws. These screws go in at about a 45-degree angle. So you're either going to need a stubby Phillips screwdriver or start them by hand, then tilt the machine back to give yourself enough room to put a regular screwdriver on it. Make sure they're good and tight so that the front panel doesn't rattle. Now we're ready to reconnect the power, and our repair is complete.